The Raiden series is one of gaming's oldest side-scrolling shoot-'em-ups, and it's been a franchise that's just been silently trucking along without too much notice by the greater gaming community over the years. In that time, they've had 5 mainline releases and about 10 or so spin-offs, and today I want to take a look at one of their newest spin-offs, Raiden Nova. The Raiden series has always been one of my favorites because it's a more traditional side-scrolling shoot-'em-up. Whereas other games have delved more in the bullet hell style of gameplay, Raiden kept things simple with a few simple lines of enemies, maybe a few swarms of bullets, and a big emphasis on picking up various items and whatnot to power up your ship. It's something that's always been simple, fun, and interesting for me personally. Also, it has fighter jets, and I'm super big into fighter jets because I am an Ace Combat fan, after all. Either way, over the past few years, we've gotten games like Vampire Survivors and Hades. Both of these games have really interesting progression systems where you pick up random items and you just try to get a little bit further with each run you do. Well, Raiden is also tossing their hat into that ring, and I gotta say, it kind of works in a lot of ways. But that doesn't mean that this is the new hotness in the genre, because while I did like Raiden Nova, it does have a lot of quirks to it. The gameplay of Hades and Vampire Survivors really just took over the gaming mindshare in the last few years. Like I said, there's no end to the number of spin-offs and imitators for those games, but Raiden is one that I didn't see coming. Raiden Nova is another game just like that, with a variety of pickups and level progression where you just try to get a little bit further and further in the game with each subsequent run. Where it's really cool is that all the power-ups are based on the classic Raiden power-ups like the laser, the Vulcan, the plasma laser, bombs, so on and so forth. You can really power up your ship to get the most powerful variations of these pretty quickly as you play through the game. But this is also one of the down points for Raiden Nova. Whereas the other games get pretty nutty with their power-ups, Raiden Nova keeps it more traditional in what you get. You never get some crazy Vulcan machine gun that has homing lasers or whatever. You don't get any mixing and matching of the traditional Raiden power-ups, and that's kind of a disappointing factor in the gameplay overall. But it doesn't detract from the fact that this gameplay loop is still addicting and fun, and even if it's in the Raiden form, it really just sank its claws into me. Raiden Nova does have a lot of disappointing facts to it, even though it has very, very addicting gameplay in its loop. For starters, Raiden Nova only has 6 stages. That is it. Only 6 maps to go through, meaning there's only 6 bosses and 6 variations of enemies to go through, so on and so forth. That's really disappointing in a game that kind of emphasizes replayability. And while it is fun to go through and unlock everything with subsequent playthroughs and get a little bit further and just check off the achievement list, 6 stages is not enough. And I quickly became really jaded and over it pretty quickly because there's only 6 different stages to look at. There are also only 2 modes in this game, arcade mode and survival mode. The survival mode is an endless mode where you just go as long as possible. You get achievements for going up to 30 minutes, which I did, but other than that, I just didn't really enjoy it all that much because of that. While the traditional go through the arcade mode and complete the 6 stages, complete the 6 bosses, and try to get a little bit further each playthrough like I keep mentioning is fine, that and a survival mode just isn't enough for a game that comes at this price point. So while the stage selection is disappointing, it is a game that has a lot of gameplay value in it if you're into unlocking a variety of things. Like I mentioned, the achievement checklist tells you how to unlock a variety of things, and a lot of them are pretty cool. You get power-ups, you get a variety of new abilities that can be found in the game, and then you of course get a variety of ships that have been found throughout the Raiden franchise. This is a pretty neat way of progressing because you can unlock a new ship, you can power up that ship, and then you can try your hand at going through the game again and trying to get a little bit further with your new ship and power-ups. But once again, it only goes so far. Whereas games like Vampire Survivors really just hit it on the head in terms of value, Raiden Nova is a bit of a tough pill to swallow. This game is over 4,000 yen here in Japan, which is about the equivalent of $40, and that is just a little too expensive for an experience like this. Vampire Survivors has a really low barrier of entry, and it also has a lot of extra DLC that you can jump in on for, once again, a very low barrier of entry in terms of money. Raiden Nova is a premium game price for not a very premium experience. And once again, that doesn't mean Raiden Nova is a bad game. It's competently made, it's fun, the loop of getting a little bit further each time you try is a really good time in and of itself. But once again, that high cost of entry, considering it's only 6 stages and 2 game modes, even if it does have hours and hours of gameplay at its forefront, it just is a little hard to recommend at that price point. And then there is the most disappointing part of it. Even though this game is a quite premium priced game, its visuals are quite bad. Even for Raiden standards, this game franchise that has just been trucking along in the background from a very small company, even still, its previous entries look significantly cleaner and better than this one. The textures just look like they haven't loaded properly, it's quite grody looking, there's not much detail in anything whatsoever. Even the menus look pretty sub 720p, like maybe even lower than 480p if I'm being honest. It's just a weird hodgepodge of visuals for this game that came out in 2024 when, honestly, even games like Raiden 3 and Raiden 4 from 2 and 3 generations of consoles ago look significantly cleaner and better than this experience. So it's a little hard to recommend in that front. Also, the music itself doesn't really stand out that much. There is a few good tracks, but I wonder why this game is so expensive considering what's being offered here. Whereas the other Raiden games are short experiences as well because they're side-scrolling shoot-'em-ups, they also feature lots of unlockables and pretty solid visuals and some excellent music in the franchise. Raiden Nova just doesn't have that. So do I recommend Raiden Nova? Well, not really. Even as a fan of the Raiden franchise, I can't really recommend this for anyone who isn't buying this on a steep discount. If you can see this game for about $5, perfect, it's great for that price. If you see it for its full price, I would say avoid it. It's not good enough for that. Its visuals aren't good enough, its gameplay loop is very good, but it's very simple and standard for the genre. And just in general, I don't think this is for anyone other than the super duper hardcore Raiden fans. That said, it is a pretty fun game if you do jump into it, but I don't recommend jumping into it for anything other than a steep discount. Anyway, that was a quick look at Raiden Nova. I played this on the Switch and it looks pretty bad, and apparently the PC version has the same visuals as the Switch, and probably the PlayStation version as well, which is crazy to me. Either way, I've been Brian at Valkerion Gaming, and that was a quick look at Raiden Nova. This was a nice break from everything else that I've been playing, and I actually put quite a lot of time into this game, surprisingly. I wanted to unlock as much as possible, and I just played the Jesus out of it. But I kind of settled on a negative viewpoint of the game, even though I played quite a bit of it, because I like unlocking things, but if you don't like unlocking things, then I don't think this game has much to offer. Either way, like, sub, hit the bell for notifications and all of that good stuff. Let me know if you like the Raiden franchise, let me know if you played this game, let me know if you're curious about this game, because hopefully this acts as a bit of a warning for the high price point compared to what you're getting. Either way, I hope to see you again next time and look forward to more gaming reviews and news in the future. Keep it locked. See you next time.